Hello, folks. Welcome back again. This is a quick one. This is the post isn't quick, but I've just done a post, as you know, on the police on their new report that's going to tell them to differentiate between different races and ethnicities when they do their policing. And I was sent this document, and it's a massive document, and I've condensed it as much as possible. But I can see where the police chiefs have got their ideas from now. This is a survey, it's called It's Silent. A summary of the Child Safeguarding Practices Review Panel. Its report examining the impact of race, ethnicity and culture on a multi-agency practice. It's by the National Society for Prevention of Cruelty for Children, and it's March 2025. It's brand new report. Came out this morning. Well, it was sent to me this morning, and I get them pretty swiftly. This report was commissioned by the Child Safeguarding Practice Review Panel to explore how race, racism, and racial bias influence how professionals identify, understand and respond to the safeguarding needs of Black, Asian and mixed heritage children and their families. The key questions of the review focused on what are the characteristics of the lives and needs of children and their families who are the focus of these reviews, what is the learning about how agencies respond to their needs, and have reviews focused on identified these issues and wider learning, and if so, how? Excuse me. As I said in the previous one, I've got something in my throat. The report highlighted the widespread silence around talking about the considering race and racism and missed opportunities to learn, and leaving Black, Asian and mixed heritage children at risk of harm in the future. Leaders and practitioners need to develop their capacity to understand and use intersectional approaches when working with Black, Asian and mixed heritage children. Local safeguarding partnerships need to review local strategies and approaches to addressing race, racism and bias in their work with Black, Asian and mixed heritage children. They like to keep repeating their phrases, don't they? Black, Asian, mixed heritage, working with them, intersectionality. Well, it just means, do they integrate, and how they can see. But I'm reading the book. I didn't see any advice on how to get them to integrate, and so the report is a load of waffle, quite frankly. In my mind, I'm not. You may have a different opinion, and professionals may have a different opinion. I was involved with youngsters from the age of 8 until the age of 18 in the Scout movement, in the St John Ambulance movement. I've been in the international youth groups and camps. And so I know these people. I've been in international camps where there's been Italians, English, Americans, Germans, Austrians, and we had mixed race children, we had Black children, we had white children. They all mixed well together. And I find a lot of these national associations, this one's Child Safeguarding Practices Review Panel, they look for problems with race, and they do nothing about integrating the races, but they highlight the differences too much. There is a predominant feeling amongst many British people that once people come to live in this country, they should adopt our laws and our sort of culture. Bring their own culture with them, yes, but don't use it as a weapon against us. So let's get back to the report, shall we? I'm sorry, I do digress a lot. I'm aware I digress a lot. There is so much that sort of affects my thinking when I read these things. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. So the report highlighted, as said, a silence around talking about and considering race and racism, and that there wasn't enough learning. So what's my point? Well, the report highlights something close to angering my perceptions, as the next chapter goes on in this report highlights for you. Recognition of the service engagement barriers. There are some reviews that identified and acknowledged service barriers for children and families, including racialised trauma from previous professional interactivities. Experience of racism, now get this, because this is the bit that blew my mind, got me angry. So the report says that the racialised traumas from previous professional interactions, experiences of racism in predominantly white communities, language barriers limiting parental understanding, negative cultural perceptions around seeking support, and bias in the form of adultification. That was the police report I mentioned. I gave this morning. The police chief officers council used the word adultification, and I said, well, I've never heard this word. They must have made it up. Well, it's in this report. And so you can see where the police are being guided by these children's safeguarding committees, which is calling it adultification, when children are treated as adults when they commit crimes over a certain age. So here we can see, this is what got to me, as I say, we saw a woke expression. Racism is predominantly white communities. My wife, I've told you before, was a black Jamaican immigrant, and my two mixed race children have never spoken once to me of racism in a predominantly white communities. They didn't experience it. They went to schools where children were 90% white, and then there was mixed race, and there was black, and there was Asian, but we predominantly were white. They didn't experience racism. They enjoyed playing with them. They enjoyed sports with them. My grandson now, of course, he's mixed race. He is a popular lad in his school. He goes to a country school. And he's in the football team. He's in different after-school clubs with them, and his friends come round to the house. No problems. It is a fallacy that has been created by these organisations that chose a few people who said, "Oh, they get into trouble for something," and they go, "Oh, you're only picking on me because of my race." And they go, "Oh, look, white people are racist." I tell you something. I've experienced racism in the black community. You can see I'm white. I was born in England to two white parents and four white grandparents and so on. My family is all white. Now, I've received racism against to myself 2 occasions, maybe 3. I might mention the third one, but it was quite funny in a way. One, I was working in Handsworth. Now it's a black area, predominantly black area. It's gone Asian now, but it was very black, black Jamaican basis, heritage. And I worked at the Project Planning Centre. I was the only white face there. Everybody else was black. I was commissioned by Ben Cunningham, the director of PPC, or Project Planning Centre, to collect quotes. I was the health and safety manager and administrator of, and worked directly with Ben. So Ben asked me to collect quotes for an upgrade in the professional kitchen equipment and outlay. So we're going to reorganise the outlay and introduce new cookers and equipment like that. So it was a professional outlay. As I interviewed applicants who were giving quotes and telling them what I envisaged, a black contractor would only speak to the lady who worked with me, and she kept telling him, no, you know, Mr. Harris is the one you're supposed to be speaking to, and he ignored me. And I said, well, what I want, and he said, what do you want? To this lady. Her name was Yvonne, same as my wife's name, but my wife had died a few years earlier. So and Yvonne was a nice young lady. So and he kept talking to her, and eventually I said, excuse me, no good staying any longer. You're not eligible for giving me a quote. I'm not going to accept the quote. You're treating me badly. I want you to leave. And he blew up. Oh, you're racist against me. It's because you're white and all this, that, and the other. And Yvonne was saying, no, he's not. No, he's not. And Ben came back. He'd been in a meeting outside of the Handsworth College, and he came in and he said, what's going on? And Ben was a big man, and he threw him out. But that was my one. That was the first. Well, it wasn't the first, but it's one of. I'm opening up first about racism to me. Another time, my wife was alive. We were newly married, and I took her to Handsworth to show her the black community, and there was. It's no longer there now, but there's a 4-track road, two going one way and two the other. And instead of building the overpass to walk across, they did it underground. And we got to this entrance to the underpass, and there's a group of young black lads, youths, 15, 16, 17-year-old. I can't, the age wasn't. Anyway, they looked as if they were going to cause trouble. And you could see they were talking about me being with a black girl, a black woman. And so my wife started hesitating, getting nervous, and I said, too late to turn back. Hold on. Do not show any nervousness. And as we got to them, I said, all right, lads, make way. We're coming through. And we walked through. 4 of these lads ran past us and got to the other end of the underpass on the steps for us to exit, and the other side. And they were standing there across it. I said, lads, as I got there. Now, I was worried. I was really scared. But, I met somebody in Gibraltar, a little old lady, who told me about her experiences in America with black people. And she said she pulled herself to her full height. She must have been about 5'2", full height. And she said, lads, I'm lost. Show me the way. And they did. And she said she took over, and they became friendly with them as well. So I chose that sort of routine, and we came through unscathed. Then I said to my wife, I need to sit down once it was out of view, because it was a very worrying experience. Now, that was my second. The third one I will mention, Ivana said about, was the girl that kept this contractor was talking to. She told me that she fancied me, and she would ask me out. However, because when she was with her friends, she spoke a local dialect, a patois from Jamaica. She said she couldn't stand the idea. She'd had a white boyfriend before, and she couldn't stand the idea of having to keep translating for me. And this was a cultural thing, which I don't see why they would have to speak in a foreign language. Well, not a foreign language, because it's not a true language. But that was the third one. But I've digressed again, haven't I? So let me get on with what I was going to tell you. So racism is not a systematic attribute of white people. It's widespread among all the races, but it would seem probably predominant in large ethnic minority groups. Youngsters who blame all their woes on the prevalent persons, so the majority. And it's not my fault. I've got no money. I've got no prospects to get a job and that. It's the white people in Britain. But of course, it's not. It's because they are not working hard at school and in college. They're not going to college, and so they blame it on opportunities. Because I've spoken to these when I was in project plans, and Ben and I used to put projects on for youngsters that was being evicted from school, expelled from school, and we would get them working, and we got them back into main education and into colleges and so on, where they'd been thrown out because of their own behaviour, and they would have to admit of their own behaviour. So the report dabbled in the realms of the new National Police Chief Councils, as I spoke about, the adultification and treat people differently according to the race. No. A silence of racism and racial bias. This is back to the report. There is no specific naming or use of the term racism in any of the reviews that looked at. Some reviews did identify and theorise the adultification. That's a terrible word. Of the child in focus. All these children were black or black mixed heritage. This included a child being treated as an adult by police, linked to his race and ethnicity, seeing the child as a cause of harm rather than a victim of criminal behaviour, placing too much responsibility, placing too much responsibility on a child around their ability to understand the consequence of their behaviour and their decisions. We're seeing it again, aren't we? Placing too much responsibility on a child around their ability to understand the consequences of their decisions. Long wording, because this is what these people in these organisations do. They interactivity and in this report. Is this report, they're saying you're putting too much responsibility on the child for the ability to understand what the consequences of their decisions. So what they're saying in this report, the knife carrying, stabbing, gang and territorial warfare, illegal drug distribution, that we have to have a different understanding for different races when they're involved in these things. In Birmingham now, in different areas of the Muslim areas, and there was lots, there is a lot of rioting and bad behaviour, flashing knives and machetes and so on. You can see the videos on YouTube. Are we supposed to? Oh well, that's they don't understand the consequences of their actions when they're flashing a blade across somebody's face or body. Of course they do. So, is it referring to the knife carrying and stabbing and gang territorial warfare and illegal drug distribution? Well, there can be no justification for treating young ethnic minority children as not understanding the consequences of their actions in these instances of law breaking. A criminal activity is a criminal activity, no matter what race, no matter what colour, no matter what ethnic group or religious background that the young person hails from. They know it's illegal. We all know it's illegal. If we're going to have this different differentials, so when you say, white children know, but black, brown, mixed don't, that is a stupid assumption. And yet these people, highly paid social workers and committee members, and they do get me. So much for these goody people and of these children's charities and committees, safeguarding fraternity that they are. They would be better educating children and their parents, together with their neighbours, in being obedient to English law, implying empathy towards others, and stop trying to be different, and stop trying and begin to start normalising British cultural behaviour as an over blanket for all races, all colours, all ethnics and all religions if they're going to live in Britain. Your comments always welcome. Please let me know. Sorry it was so long. I needed to get it off my chest. Do subscribe. It doesn't cost you a penny, it doesn't cost you a cent, doesn't even cost you a rupee. Totally free to subscribe. Helps me continue. So if you want to hear more of these short, they are short. This was the longest one I've done. Then please subscribe and do make your comments known. That's the only way we'll defeat these idiots in society. So until the next one, be good, be safe, and goodbye from DJ. Bye.